forwarded to the cloud, and the Zoom cloud, it has like no capacity. So you guys ready to go live?
Yeah.
All right, you guys will get to meet each other and learn more. Some of you already know. It takes me a second. Let me get my phone volume off so it's not screaming at me.
Oh, I have a question. I've just thought of
Yes,
one.
ask away.
How long do we chat for?
Usually 45 minutes to an hour, so just really depends on how much we have to say.
Okay.
Is that going to work?
Yeah, I mean, my partner might open the door and wander down at 5:30 when they finish work, but I mean,
Oh,
they'll just
well, yeah, if
go,
they want to be on
oh, and then probably walk
camera.
upstairs again.
Oh.
Yeah, but like, it's cool. It's like he'll just go, oh, and then walk back upstairs probably. Or I can send him a message to say, don't come down till 6.
There's some weird stuff happening with the Zoom. Hold on. They have changed the Zoom, and I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Hold on. It is not the Zoom that I know happening right now. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. No, that is not what I wanted.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's like completely different, and it is not what it was supposed to be. So hold on. They do all these updates, and now things are different. Hold on.
Sounds like my Facebook mess.
Yeah, there we go. Now that no, I don't know. This is so weird. Public. It is like
Oh, let me close my dryer here. That's throwing me off.
Huh, this is so interesting. There we go. There we go. I'm telling you, they got some weird stuff happening here. Share to a page, not that page. I managed like 22 pages on. Here we go. Now we got what I know. Fantastic. Facebook keeps updating stuff, and their updates are horrible. There we go. Now it's doing the things that I know. All right, I do think we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Queen City Comedy's Global Gab. My name is Carla Dingle. Hopefully you guys have seen my mug on the Queen City page before, but I'm back for our 14th Global Gab, and I'm really, really excited about this. We have 3 amazing improvisers with us, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves in a minute. But if you have any questions for them throughout the broadcast, feel free to put those in our Queen City Comedy Facebook chat, and we will ask our lovely improvisers some questions. So I'm gonna make their face real big and make them introduce themselves, and it's fun for me because people always know it's coming and they're still surprised. But I'm gonna start right here. Tell us all about yourself.
Hello, everybody. Hello, world. So I'm Lawrence Burgun. I'm I do improv in Portland, Oregon, the Pacific Northwest. And although I'm originally a New Yorker, so I do improv out in Portland with a New York accent that comes out every now and then. I've been doing improv for about 9 years. And I started off with doing short form and then went into long form improv a few years after that. And then I'm back to short form as well because I enjoy both. And I'm a member of the Deep End Theater, a theater out here. It's D'Amica Parker's theater. We're on hiatus. I can never pronounce that word right now. Although we do rehearse, and we're itching to get back into the real world with real live performances. And during this unusual time, I've been lucky enough to meet and play with people from all over the world, and all over the country and all over the world, and learning new stuff and doing acting as well. So that's my story.
Great, fantastic. We're going to switch
Happy to
over
be
to
here.
Carla. I think we lost Sandy for a minute, so I'm hoping she's going to come back. So, Carla, tell us all about you.
Hi, my name is Carla. I'm a theatre maker and improviser, currently based in Cambridge in the UK. I live in Cambridge, but I'm not in any way affiliated with the university. It's a lovely place, but I just happen to live here. I do run in the before times. I run improv jams in Cambridge, and I have an improvised or a moment specific theatre company based here. But I also do a lot of. I've just finished an MA in advanced theatre practice, which I did in London. So I kind of do bits and pieces of theatre in London as well as here, and mostly online now at the moment. What else? Oh yeah, I just want to say, like, yeah, I recently joined the women and non-binary team at Queen City, and I'm just like really impressed with like how much stuff is happening and how enthusiastic everyone is. So I'm going to say that here right now because I do think it's really cool. Awesome, that's me.
Awesome, fantastic. And we also have with us today Sandy Hanley, and she will hopefully be right back. She just said, I'm trying to come back. So hopefully she'll be back. So we'll stop chatting whenever she comes in and let her introduce herself. So yeah, I've gotten to meet both of you guys through stuff at Queen City Comedy, which has been amazing. And I'm glad you guys are enjoying. We were talking a little beforehand about some of it, but I'm glad you all are enjoying. But I always love to start with people's origin stories. So what was it that made you say, let me take my first improv class, or let me go to my first improv jam, and sort of from that point to where you are today, like what's that journey been like?
Well, I remember doing improv as a kid, and we didn't know it was improv. And it was very similar to a lot of the games that we do now. One-word sentences or building a story. And things like that. So I did that with my brothers and some friends. It was in college that I didn't do improv, but I began to watch improv. And I kind of just enjoyed it because of the anything could happen thing. But really it was about 10 years ago or so, and I just decided to take a improv class at a local community college. And for some reason, the instructor thought that I was pretty good. I don't think I was, but he did. And he said, you should really, really do this. So I said, oh, okay. So I started taking classes here in Portland. We have a number of theaters. They're different now than they were 10 years ago. But I took it around town, and I got hooked with improv. The first reason I got hooked with improv is because I wanted to be funny. I realized quickly that, well, that's not really, it doesn't really sustain scenes very well. And I became hooked with improv because I just enjoyed the fact that you can be anybody you want. If you wanted to be the king or queen of a kingdom or queendom, you could. You don't have to go to, you don't have to audition for a play where you're trying to look the part. You just go in and that's who you are. Or you can be you could be whatever status you want, or you could be anything you want, as long as you serve the story. So that type of that type of feeling that you can do anything you want and please an audience is what hooked me into improv.
Yeah, fantastic. I a lot of that resonates with me. Carla, how about you? What got you started? What got you your improv bug?
I'm so glad that Lawrence mentioned audiences because I just think they are a real integral part of what we do. So I just wanted to echo that. Audiences, I love them. I'm going to credit like my improv origins to two women. One of which was my drama teacher back in school, a woman called Caroline Thompson, she's a drama teacher, that's what she does in my old school. And I was maybe 14 or 15, and she was teaching or still teaches drama that is based on forum theatre. It's based on the work of Auguste Boal. And kind of that kind of it's an improvisationary theatre that's based in like community and in applied theatre, in kind of how you can sort of I guess like problem solve, but it has a lot of things like hot seating and those kind of things, and we were doing that as like 14 and 15-year-olds, which was awesome. And that was kind of like, to me, theatre and improvisation and drama, they were all like intertwined in that. That's what I understood by it. So this kind of notion of, which is great for me because I wasn't a very posh kid. So like, I didn't really know about musicals and proper theatre. So like, I would audition for the youth theatre and just never get in because like, I'd be like, what is this? So I really loved doing this kind of like community based stuff that where you could, like Lawrence said, you could do anything and be anyone, and it was kind of unrestricted in that sense. It was really an inclusive thing. And then I went off to university and studied English, and then became an English teacher. It's a very potted history. Became an English teacher, like an English as a foreign language teacher in Cambridge. And I was very bored and wanted something to do that was, I knew I wanted to do drama. And back in the days when we had newspapers and people looked in newspapers for things to do, I saw a woman was running improv classes, and I came along to one. Lovely woman called Claire Kerrison, who's from New Zealand, lives in New Zealand now. She was teaching improv in Cambridge, and and then I was hooked. Although I will say, I like, most people tell these great like improv origin stories. I really didn't like my first lesson.
Oh, I didn't either.
I didn't enjoy it.
either. I tried to run away during the break, so I'm right there with you. So,
But yeah, I think like with most things, it's persistency. Like you might not like it the first time, but maybe try it again, and then you start to realize what it is and what's going on, and your brain starts to make those like little hooks, and then you go, oh yeah, this is what this is. I love this, and then from then on was hooked and learned all about like Chicago long form and like all the short form stuff before, and then eventually, like this is how it sort of connects everything together at the end. Studying my MA and stuff like that, I brought it kind of all together into something that I think it's Jill Bernard says, like, you are your own school of improv. So my school of improv is
recording in progress.
I call it moment specific theatre. I'm a big believer. I want to understand more about open work and sort of where you sort of maybe have a point that you're going to, but you don't know how you're getting there. I really like stuff like that. So I'm really enthusiastic about open work in all genres and how it works, and how improvisation is a kind of this really big thing. So like bringing it all kind of together. That's me.
oh, I love that.
Hi, Sandy.
Jill Bernard is fantastic. So I'm so glad that you mentioned her. Sandy, welcome back. Are you back with us? Oh, I'm echoing through here, Sandy.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us where you're calling from, and then we just finished up talking about our origin stories. What got us into improv? So the stage, or the screen, I guess, is all yours.
What got me into improv? I was a lead singer in a rock and roll band, and I didn't have any problems singing, but they wanted me to do some front person work. talking to the audience. And I was like, no. I don't talk, I just sing. Like, no, you have to talk. You have to introduce the band members. You have to BS with the audience. And so I started taking an improv class to give me more confidence. I know that sounds a little odd because I had the confidence to sing, but I just didn't have the confidence to just talk to the audience and, kind of massage their backs and make sure they were listening to us and all those good things.
Great. And how long ago was that? And what have you been doing since? So what's taken you from that first class to where we get to today?
Let's see. That was back in the early 80s with Sue Walden, who was at that point the only game in town in the Bay Area. And now there's probably 5 or 6 schools. And then I got out of improv for many years. Still did a lot of the music. And the other fun story that I'll tell you is I was a single parent, so I really couldn't afford the Sue Walden improv classes. They were very expensive, as they often are, even still. So she would have me come over to her apartment and feed her snake and water her plants. And she gave me half price on the classes. So then years went by, I lost my honey and was just really, really sad. It took me a long time to get over that loss. So I said, I need to go back into something that's going to help me learn how to smile again. So yes, that's how I jumped back into the improv. And then we had this crazy pandemic time, and I've gotten even more so into the improv, being able to take classes with people all over the world, which is really fun.
Yeah, well, you are a stronger person than me. The minute someone said I had to feed their snake to be doing improv, I would be done. There would be no improv in my world. Sandy, I got to meet you really early on in the pandemic in a musical improv workshop with Dave Asher. And if you guys have never heard Sandy sing, you should hear her. She has this tonal quality that it's just amazing. I've never heard anything like it. It's so gorgeous and unique and breathy. It's fantastic. And that was like the worst improv class I took. I was like so wussing out in that class. I don't even know who I was in that class. It was too early in the pandemic.
Yes.
Haven't taken a musical class online since. But anyway, so let's, this is one of my favorite questions to ask now that we've introduced ourselves is, what type of improv player are you? So if you had to join a new team and say, this is what I bring, this is who I am, what would you say about yourself? What kind of improv player are you? It's funny, you can always see people's face. They're like, oh, I never thought about that. We did one show where I had people on who play together all the time. And after we asked this question, they're like, oh, no, now we're going to tell you what type of player you are. And that was really kind of fun as well, because they were like, you do this, this, and this. And it was interesting to hear. So highly recommend ask the people you play with on your teams, too. So what kind of player are you? Anybody got an answer?
That's a really good idea. I'll answer. I can tell you what sort of thing I would be. I would say a typical an encompassing Carla scene would probably be like a talking toaster on stage and I would give you but the toaster would have a really strong point of view and it would be like a really emotive, it would be a believable, as if that toaster was embodied by a person. And it would probably have a northern accent, like a northern British accent, and it would probably be talking about their neighbors or the fact that the bread the bread that their owner puts in is always the wrong type. They'd probably be a bit world weary. They'd definitely have a very strong point of view and they'd be very entertaining. But they would definitely, I'd be a toaster or an exhaust pipe or a pair of scissors or something. In one of my last real world shows, I instigated a scene where I just started rolling around on the floor. This is in front of an audience of 80. And I was playing a piece of trash, but a very highly sexualized piece of trash.
As trash should be. As trash should be.
Yeah, and my great teammates, because they were great, my great team, like Erica jumped on board, and she was also like another horny piece of trash. So we were horny pieces of trash rolling around on the floor in a theatre, which is, you know, not advised for many, many reasons, not least sightlines. But it was great fun. So I hope that answers that.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at my trash a little differently today. Great, Lawrence. How about you? What kind of player? How would you describe yourself?
Well, I've changed over the years. In fact, I would say quite honestly that even though I've done improv for a certain amount of years, I really was, I believe, very bad at the beginning. I mean, and the beginning was a long number of years. So what the type of improv player that I've involved in is very actor-based improv. I'm the type of player where less is more. I am not the type of player that's very clever, very witty, very verbal. I enjoy immensely playing with those types of players. I just don't do that as well. And that's good because I'm able to play off of those types of players. I will provide context. I will provide support. I will say a few words that change the game in a very subtle way. I tend to want to do a lot of physical acting. I enjoy subtext. I enjoy one thing that one thing I miss about the live theater is that it's important for me as an improv player. Eye contact is really important. Being able to, there's a zone of, in the theater, there's a zone of energy between two players and they don't have to be very close to each other. I play off of that. I'm the type of improv player that what I'll do is that I can move my body or walk to another area of the stage doing something, and that will say 15 times as much that a verbal response might say. And I also I enjoy that kind of saying of the slow art of comedy. And so that's what I involved in. Sometimes I do it really, really, really well. And sometimes I'm thinking, oh, the audience must think that this is sort of like, you know, I'm watching, you know, two turtles on stage in slow motion. So, but that's what I do.
Awesome. I kind of gravitate a little bit towards that dramatic piece as well, especially I have online. I too have evolved a lot as a player. Sandy, how about you? What kind of player are you? How would you describe yourself?
Well, as Carla and Lawrence were talking, it was interesting because I've been working with a group of vintage improv women that I put together, and we're doing a lot of object work, which is really, really fun. And we do come off with strong viewpoints. We're also doing a form called love letters, where you would take like your toaster, Carla, and the toaster would talk to a slice of bread. And they're, you know, obviously long distance away. They've been separated somehow, and they just, you know, profess their undying love and all of the things that they love and respect about each other. And then with what Lawrence was saying, I studied with a woman in the Bay Area, Joya Corey, and we would start in separate places in her big theater and just slowly walk toward each other, just kind of stand, look at each other, and whatever you were getting off of that player was kind of how you would start your scene. And of course, she encouraged you to kind of stand there and watch each other for a while. I really, really enjoyed that. I think to say maybe what kind of player I am, I enjoy silence. I enjoy feeding off of the other character. And if I'm in a class, I really appreciate when a teacher just says, hey, I want like a minute of silence at the beginning of the scene. And it's really hard. You know, it just really is. I like I do like short form. And always have to laugh at all of the snobbery that goes around short form. Well, I don't know, maybe it's just the Bay Area, but in general, I think it's kind of worldwide improv. And I laugh and I go like, well, okay, so when you came into the improv world, did you immediately go into long form and you knew what the hell you were doing? And they're like, no, we played games. And I said, well, okay. So yeah, I like that fast little things that happen in the short form world, but I love long form too. So.
Now, that's an interesting point you bring up, and I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but I think there is this perception, right, that like short form is here and then long form is here. But Carla mentioned earlier how much she loves audiences, and just in my personal experience, audiences gravitate towards short form more than long form. So it's just very, very interesting. I mean, not that I've seen audiences love some long form shows, don't get me wrong, but it's just really interesting that's out there. And hopefully some of that has leveled a little bit this year in the playing field, as far as we don't have the audiences, so we're just doing what we love versus worrying specifically about what the audience loves. So hopefully that'll level some of that, and maybe people will love a little more short form.
I was going to throw one thing in there, Carla. I was on a short form team for about 1.5 years, and we performed once a week. It was called the Midnight Goddamn Jam. Where that name came from, I won't go into. But so we wound up getting people that came back every week. We were literally on the team trained that each one of us would be able to introduce any game that we were going to play, instead of having like one person be the front person. I particularly enjoyed my ability to get people from the audience to come up and actually play with us, including I would like go out in the audience and kind of grab them. And like their girlfriend would be like, yeah, Charles, come on, go up there, you can do it. I'd be like, yeah, Charles, come on, you can do it. But we always had, each game we had somebody from the audience come join us. And
I love some audience participation. We even in one of our shows, we do a living room style long form, and we even bring up some audience members and put them in our living room with us, so they tell us some stories and stuff. Of course, they just watch our butts now when they're doing improv, because they're still sitting back there. But it is fun. I love bringing the audience in, because I think it puts people know it's completely improvised, and it gets the audience on your side really, really quick. So
and that reminds me, we had I recently just we just did a show last week that was called Homebrew, and that was heavily audience based, in the sense that I think like the thing with doing online improv, I noticed, is like I think sometimes you can forget that there might be an audience, and a lot of the online theatre I've watched the stuff I've enjoyed has sort of remembered that it's about a kind of communication with the audience. So I wanted to make something where we recognize that, and it felt a little bit like they were with you. So I did something where I invited people to be on screen with us at certain points and off screen at other points, but made it really clear when that was. And the points at which they were on screen, we were asking them stories to tell us. Then there was another bit where they got to hot seat characters, so that's back to the kind of like forum theatre stuff that I was doing very, very early on, and using that. So it was interactive. You had a choice. You could have your camera on or off, so it wasn't like obligatory. But I found that was really good for kind of, there was an intimacy. Like, I think intimacy can be missing. I think Lawrence talked a little bit about that, and how kind of sometimes I think online you can miss that. But like both in this and a solo one-on-one show that I did, those two things, I was really focusing on how can you create a kind of intimacy or a relationship with the audience, even though they're not in the same physical room. And I think like putting them on screen with you, communing with them in that way, talking to them, allowing them to be in your living room. It's not a living room set in the same way, but the idea was that we were sitting and having like tea and biscuits with you and having a chat at certain points, and then we would go off and do some improv, and then we'd come back. and it worked really, really well. Like the audiences said, oh, you know, this is like, I didn't expect this, but it feels intimate. I feel like I'm with you. So I think that's kind of one
Yes.
way that is really exciting and really interesting in this online thing, is like bringing the audience like on the screen with you at certain times and off screen with you at others. Yeah, that's just something like we tried last week, and it worked kind of well. So I thought I'd share that.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think one of the reasons that online improv has been thriving this whole year is because as improvisers we just like, well, that's not working, let's try this. That's not working, let's try. We just keep trying new things versus like just completely shutting it down and be like, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
And so I love hearing that. I haven't done anything like that, but I do love the idea of maybe some folks hopping in on screen. Ooh, very cool. Yeah. Well, my next question for you is, for the folks out there watching, what has improv taught you? What has it taught you in life? How does improv translate from the stage into your life? What has it taught you?
I'll start. I wish I took improv a long time ago. It would have helped me much more. I mean, I think, an average life, but average life means the ebbs and flows of life, which means good things and bad things. And with improvisational theater, you get to learn a few things. The first thing is that when I do improv, what helps me is sort of the being aware, mindfulness. In improv, my teacher and the owner of Deep End Theater, D'Amica Parker, calls it relaxed readiness when you're on stage. And kind of the ability to just be able to take anything that comes your way. And that's important in life. That's important from anything from dealing with my new wonderful neighbors that are a little bit louder than I would like them to be. And it doesn't stress me out or whatever, and I can be able to talk and communicate with them. And it deals with just the bigger things in life. I mean, as we get on in years, things happen. People that we loved are no longer with us. Friends have gone, and changes happen. And you sort of have this ability that it is what it is. You take it, you yes and it. You're able to also have a certain silly bone. It's not that everything is funny, it isn't, but because things are not funny, that's all the more reason to have a silly bone. You sort of need to have that. And it also helped me make kind of quick decisions, and it helped me connect with people. So I think it has a whole bunch of benefits, and I see people, a lot of my dear friends in the improv community that actually do applied improv work. And I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, this makes sense in so many different areas. So to me, it's helped, and it does rewire your brain in ways that are good. So that's my spiel.
Awesome.
And I'm sticking to it.
There you go. Sandy, how about you? What has
Sticking to
improv
it.
taught you in life?
Well, when Lawrence just ended that with it rewires your brain, not a lot of people know this about me, but I had a pretty, well, not a pretty, I had a very major head injury. When I talk about it, I go back into my little stutter thing that happened when I fell. I took like a 15-foot fall off of some staging I was building. So, and the company that I was working for kind of fought the whole payment, even though it was a workman's comp accident. So I got very little retraining. I think that even though I was not, I think I would say that that's really what it is, that I can think quick. I can continue to make things up, which I had lost a lot of the ability because I hit mostly on the right side. So that's your imaginative side. As they told me, I was lucky because if I had taken more of the fall on my left side, it would have been more of my intellect, right? I think improv brought back a lot of that imagination. It brought back definitely the laughter that I was so much in need of at a certain point in my life. And add is that I was in a couple plays a couple years ago. So I actually had to memorize lines, which if you know anything about head injuries, it makes it even worse because your memory thing is just kind of really shaky. So I had my second play, I had one whole sheet that I had to memorize, and I was so flippin' nervous. It was a friend of mine that wrote the play, and he wanted me to be in it. He said, okay, just write the words on a clipboard because you're going to have a clipboard anyway because you're the robot's secretary or whatever I was. And if you get lost in the middle of the words, just look on the clipboard and that'll get you going again. And I got out of that play, which I did get lost. Only one night out of the 4, but I got out of that play and I said, oh, thank God for improv, because I don't have to memorize anything. That's what I learned, is that in improv, I don't have to memorize anything. I can make it all up. I learned to smile and learned that I am stronger than my head injury.
Oh, I love that. I also love that improv made me learn to smile. I think that's a great thing. Carla, how about you? What has improv taught you?
Say, I'm like Sandy. I find it very difficult to learn lines, possibly for slightly different but maybe related reasons. So I want to say 2 things, because I think improv, what doesn't it, I live my life by the kind, I am this weird, wired, spontaneous, crazy person. But there are 2 things I think that I would highlight. One thing is the sense of play that I think my life is imbued with, and I guess it's more the sense that that improv has taught me that it's okay, because I think a lot of the time we are things, or we have personality traits, and maybe what we pick up from the outside is that that's not okay. And I think for me, I've always been a very playful person, a very silly person, a very kind of just whimsical person, hence the toaster. And I think when you're growing up and you're smart and you're kind of doing your studies and whatever, that's kind of that's placed more importance on than the silliness and the spontaneity and the kind of that way of thinking. You get very much into an academic way of thinking, and I was a very good academic, brilliant, great, fantastic, but there was some part of me that was dying, that was dead. And I think improv has reignited that, and it's given me permission to be playful. I'm playful all the time. I was on the phone to the tax office earlier, and they asked me for a number. It was a really long, 13-digit number, and I don't know there's what do they call it? When you have to say the letters of the alphabet, and there's words for them instead. So you say Charlie, Bravo, Echo. I don't know what they are, so I just started making them up on the phone to the tax office, and he was like, oh yeah, you're doing really well. But I was like, kangaroo, elephant, Vauxhall Corsa, Jesus, light shade. And I just realized I do that without realizing now. But I think that sense of joy, and I think that sense of playfulness is missing. Like, and I think maybe that brightened that tax office man day, I don't know, but it brightened my day. So I think that sense of play, and like, I think, yeah, there's lots of kind of theories around play and game that I'm very, very big into and very fascinated by. So that. The second thing is, like, in terms of like being a bit serious, is like mental health. So I have chronic depression and anxiety, like proper diagnosis of, take pills for, have therapy for. Actually, I don't have therapy anymore because, hey, I'm a lot better now. Until recently was doing all of that stuff. And I think, like, again, linked to this sense of play and permission, yeah, it's been fantastic for my mental health. It's been a long journey, I'm not gonna lie. It's not like I went to an improv class and I was immediately better, but there's something to do with, like, yeah, feeling able to be yourself, having an expression, being able to be free and not feel censored. There's something glorious about that. There's something glorious about a community that's incredibly welcoming. I think that's something that the improv world does. Like, I'm connected theatre world and improv world, and improv world is definitely very both worlds are very inclusive, connected, diverse. They're very keen for people to be part of it, and I remember that very distinctly when I started doing classes in Cambridge, and it's something that I try to do when students come to me, when they come and play in Cambridge, is like, they find each other and they find this little community, and they find that they can have fun with each other, and oh my god, it's like 2 hours of just pure shot of joy, and that can be incredibly helpful for mental health. So that's me.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love the idea of community. And I think for some of us, that's probably, while online improv has really provided us, for lack of a better word, band-aids to kind of get through this pandemic, the community aspect has been missing a little. Like, I don't know how it is where you are, but here we would do a show and then we would have drinks and dinner afterwards, and we would hang out and talk. And most recently, one of the improv teams that I've been coaching since July, which is crazy, I've been coaching an online team since July, they're like, can we just hang out after the show? And I was like, oh, didn't even think of that was missing, but it is missing. And I think community is, for me, is something that improv has really taught me, how important community is. And I think that that's one of the things for me it's really taught me. So speaking of teachers, who are some teachers that have inspired you or continue to inspire you, or just, improv books, any of that stuff? Like, what are those things on this journey? Who are those people?
For me, in terms of books, first of all, Napier's, I forgot his name, from
Mick
Annoyance
Napier,
Theater.
yeah.
His book on improv, I forgot what it's called, Improvised. I can't remember. I know what the cover looks like. That was probably, in addition to Truth and Comedy, that book, and also Spolin's works years back. I think that Napier's book was important for me, because what it did is that it provided an explanation that got rid of the underlying rules, which were probably important at the beginning, but at a certain point in time, we're talking about rules like don't ask questions in improv, or don't do this or don't do that. And he was able to provide a kind of an explanation about why those rules existed, but really the rules ought to be dispensed with, not because and that freed me up a lot, so that I was no longer in my head. And I hate being in my head. When I'm doing improv work and I'm in my head, I'm not happy, I'm not good, I'm not connected, I'm and everything, my physical body is stiff. It just it's awful. So in terms of books, those were that one to me was important. And there are others, but I think that's the one that was the most important. In terms of instructors here in Portland, Oregon, we get a lot of good instructors that roam around the country and the world. Not now, but they're accessible through Zoom. So it would be like Jill Bernard and Joe Bill. A lot of the annoyance crowd tends to come out here, which is really, really good. And then finally, the teacher that I have now, D'Amica Parker, who's the head of the Deep End Theater, had been and was my teacher since the very early stages. And I think that the qualities that she brought are things that a teacher, no matter what they're teaching, brings. There's certain things that that define what a good teacher is. My father was a sixth grade math and science teacher, and I believe that he was a good teacher. And teachers are people that get to know you in terms of your craft, get to know how you think, how you're motivated, what makes you tick, is able to understand the special, unique qualities that you have, and also those very annoying things that you ought to get rid of. They have the tact to let you know over time to get rid of that, because I always say that, sometimes I take a workshop an improv workshop or elsewhere, and I might get an instructor that says wonderful things, oh, you're great, I love this and that and that. And I always say to myself, and I'm trying to be as polite as possible, that if I wanted to hear wonderful things, I would take a class from my mother. I want to know, what do you think? I might agree with you, I might disagree with you, and God knows even teachers make mistakes or put you on the wrong path for a short period of time because they think something and they're wrong. But I think teachers kind of get to know you. So I've had the gift of having teachers that have seen me in my worst possible moments, but yet had the ability to see that special thing that would shine, and were able to draw it out, and were able to celebrate those times in which they were, awesome performances that that I still remember. So that's sort of my spiel.
I'm really interested by that, and I think I can speak a little bit to what Lawrence has just said. I trained as a teacher. I taught English for 5 years, and then was an improv teacher. And I was a very bad improv teacher when I started. I don't mind saying that. Like, it's really hard. And then what I learned as an improv teacher, I now apply to so many things. Like, all my friends get sick of me going, oh yeah, I remember, this is just like when I was teaching improv. Anyway, and I reckon I've probably taken I've taken classes well over 100. It's just improv teachers, and then vast amounts of theatre teachers, especially in this pandemic.
Yeah.
And I've got a very good sense of, I think, what I want from a teacher, and I think that's what it's down to. I think it's down to each person has a different want from a teacher, and it's never going to be the same. So I'm a great believer in, so there are clown teachers, for example, who teach something using, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but via negativa or via negativa, which is they teach you're shit, you're shit, you're shit, you're shit. Sorry, Facebook for swearing. That's Gollier in particular who does that. But there are the teaching, and drama schools do that quite a lot as well. They kind of have this reputation for knocking you down and then building you back up again. Now, some people respond to that. That's great. Some people respond to being told honestly what they need and want. Me, I don't. I prefer, I call it via positiva. I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm very much the carrot end. I want you to encourage me. I want you to tell me what's good about what I've done. I'm very, very good at critiquing myself. Thank you. I know what's bad. I'm very good at, and I think there are some teachers who do that like really well. I think Jill Bernard's been mentioned, probably because she's some form of goddess. She does that very, very well. And I know she's a great believer in that I remember her saying something about a rocket and like it being about rocketing your students upwards, and they're able to let go of the rubbish, but you need to give them the propulsion to go up. So I think she's very good at that. And I'm going to say I recently took a class with at the Huge Theatre, which Jill teaches at, or which runs with I'm going to pronounce his name wrong.
John Gabritatos.
Yes.
And it was awesome. And I think they're running that. And Jill kind of emailed us, said, can you tell people about this? And it is awesome. It's on like political or socially conscious improv. And I would highly recommend that. And I highly recommend that as someone who's like, I don't take very many classes now because I don't have enough money to, because higher education in England is extortionate, and I spent all my money learning, but I took this one and I was so blown away. It was such a lovely class. It was so well taught, because John again does that thing where he finds out what each student needs and what the class needs. So I think there are some points where he probably went completely off syllabus, but he did what that class needed in that moment. And again, I think that's a really important thing for a teacher. I think that, again, echoing what Lawrence was saying, like it's about what finding out what your students need and giving it to that student, even if your class is like, I don't know, if it's supposed to be on I don't know, if it's supposed to be on characters, you end up going somewhere else because your students find somewhere else that they want to go and are going. I think your responsibility as a teacher is to kind of follow that, maybe not completely, but like to go with the flow and the rhythm, because it's all about like what they want to learn rather than what you want to teach. And I know I've been in that situation where I've gone, I must teach this, and tried to kind of hammer lessons into students when actually, and this is both as an English teacher and as an improv teacher, like when they clearly just don't want to be learning that and they want to be learning something else. And it's like, there are boundaries, but like you should listen to what it is that they want to be learning, because that's where the gold is. It's like improv, that's where the gold is. Find it, follow it, and they'll listen to it, and it'll come back eventually. But yeah, like trying to kind of throw what you think, what your syllabus is telling you at your students is always a bad idea. I'm going to say one final thing about consent. I think that's really, really important. That relates to what I was saying earlier about teaching. There's I think a lot of what I'm really happy about in the improv world at the moment is there's a lot of talk about consent and boundaries. And I think the improv world is great about thinking about that. I think maybe the theatre world's a little bit slower on that. But I'm really enjoying lots of the conversations about that, because I've been in classes where like I've been pushed to do things and I've done them and not really thought about that being a bad thing, that I was being pushed to do it, and then kind of like literally years later gone, I don't think that was the right thing to be doing. But it takes the kind of time for you to process, and I wish kind of in that moment I'd known or been able to say, no, I don't want to, you've taken me past a boundary and it's not your right. That's my belief. I know there are people who maybe disagree with that, but I think consent and boundaries in teaching is really, really important, because you don't want to break the students, I don't think.
No, absolutely. Improv should be about joy, not trauma. But I'll make sure we shout out Huge Theatre and Jill Bernard and John, because for those of you guys watching, maybe you know or you don't know, there's a lot happening in their city of Minneapolis right now, and they could use a little lifting of their spirit. So I'll make sure to let them know. Sandy, how about you? Who are some teachers or some things that have inspired you in improv? Did we lose you, Sandy? Are you there?
Am I coming through okay? Because I'm
now
getting
you are.
lots of unstable.
Now you are. So who are some teachers that have inspired you?
Oh, you can't see it there. I looked up the Mick Napier book, Lawrence, because it was the one that really touched my heart too. And a lot of that had to do with, yes, here's the 10 rules or 12 rules. He lists them right on the first page. Then he says, through this book, I'm going to kind of show you, once you get to a certain point, how you just really need to break all of those. And that was really fun for me to hear, because I was definitely a rebel in high school and was sent down to the principal a lot and didn't like a whole lot of rules being shoved at me. I really enjoy women teachers. Carla, I'll give a shout out to you, because I took a class of yours early in this pandemic, and I've just watched your heart and your whole psyche and everything grow. So I really enjoyed the few classes I did with you. I like women teachers, because I think that there's so much in improv that women have to learn. Right now, with all of the other isms that are going on, and that are being brought to the forefront through video cameras and all the other things that are capturing all the shit that's happening out in our world right now. I love Jill Bernard. I love Jen Bianche. It's great. I had never even known of her, and now she's coaching our team, right, Carla?
Yeah.
And she's just this wonderful, positive presence. I find that women tend to do that more in teaching. It is all about the, hey, I'm going to pat your back. I'm going to make you feel good. Now get going and give us some more of what you just did, or give us, give us more emotion, give us more, whatever it is. So, Susan Messing, I don't know. There's so many women out there right now that are really teaching some such good courses. I particularly enjoy that they, like I said, they push you to be positive on stage too, and just to bring out that whole, because that whole yes and, you can't put that and in until you get that yes down. So you don't even have to think about anding anybody. You just stay kind of right on that yes, and it will just kind of take you into the and. And that was, I don't even remember, it was a class of maybe a couple months ago that one of the teachers, don't remember if it was male or female, was talking about. No, it was a female. And I was like, wow, that's right. We don't have to add all that and stuff, because it just confuses the whole scene. But anyway, my really strong people have definitely been women, particularly online, because I've been able to take some Emma Bird, Sandra Lynn Jones. These are people out of the UK. Maybe Carla knows, I'm sure she does. And it's been fun to take classes with people across the pond.
It has. Well, we are about out of time, but I always have one last question, so I think we can probably get this in pretty quick. Which is, what is the advice you would give to your young improvising self? So if you could go back to your first class and give yourself some advice, what advice would you give yourself?
I would tell myself that that I should have stayed in the improv world as young as I was when I first started taking the classes, and just kept feeding that snake so that I could just keep getting those classes. But it gave me just such great confidence.
And for those of you tuning in, it's a literal snake, a real snake, just so there's no euphemisms there. All right. Lawrence, how about you? What is your advice you would give to your younger improvising self?
Two things. First of all, let go of the need to be funny. It will happen. And even if it doesn't happen, the purpose is not to make the audience laugh. The purpose is to make the audience remember you. And we all remember a lot of funny movies and funny TV shows where you might have a scene in there that's a aw type of a scene, or even a scene that is, not particularly full of laughter, but it's material for a few scenes down the road. So let go of the need to be funny. That's the first thing. The other one is that once you say it and act it, it's in the script, it's written. So don't, I'm going to say the S word, don't drop your shit, which means that if you're a character that does something or thinks a certain way, that's who you are. And the audience loves it, even if they're not laughing at every moment in time.
Oh, I love
But,
that. I love
but Laura, that character can be changed though, right?
that.
Yeah.
Good. And Carla, how about you? I'll let you finish us all up. That
Mine's going to
advice.
function as a public apology. I have, in the past, I think, once you get to the point where you're making shows, and I was at the point where I was making shows and making them in theatres, and things like production values and the want for things to be perfect, the want for things to be like good, whatever the hell that meant. Sort of, I would say, like my midpoint in my career, like started to take over, and I did become a bit of an asshole. And you know,
No.
tried to kind of like push things in certain directions and change what people wanted to do, and you know, and that kind of conflict became very difficult. Like, even if it wasn't a direct conflict, there was always like an implicit bit of tension there. And once I learned to let that go and just be like, it's just a thing, it's just a show, let everyone have fun is cool, audience like fun, let's just do this thing. If you want to do serious Shakespeare or whatever it is, if you want to do a serious go off and do that somewhere else in another way. So don't try and kind of push things, don't push people to do what they don't want to do, don't push something in the direction it's not supposed to go. Let things be, and it will be much better and much more enjoyable for everybody. So that is what I would tell my younger self, and that's why that functions as an apology to maybe a few people that found that difficult at the time.
Awesome.
Carla with the C, can we go out singing Let It Be?
There we go. You no, because we don't have the rights to it, and they'll make our video disappear online. It's crazy. But thank you all for your time. I appreciate it so much. It was so great getting to know all of you all. For those of you watching, this is our second to last show of the season. Our season finale will be in 2 weeks. We're really excited. We're going to have Kate Bell, Becky Webb, and Vera Chuck on, 3 new members of our Women in Non-Binary team to finish up our first season. And again, thank you to our panelists, and thank you guys watching. We're going to wave awkwardly goodbye, as I always make people do, as we stop our live stream. Bye.